I'm joined by Tony Craddock, the Director General of the Emerging Payments Association. And what are the kind of key hurdles or challenges for businesses that you're trying to overcome?
So often it's about getting people to really understand the scale and shape and nature of the opportunity, and then working out how to engage with the community to make sure that they can capitalize on those opportunities. Everything's moving very, very fast. The ecosystem is massively complex. There's new people, new players, new technologies, new regulations, and it's about making sense of all of this in a way that makes sure that customers are happy and make sure there's profit in the model. And quite often there's profit in the model but no satisfaction for the customer, or sometimes there's very happy customers but the company that's behind it doesn't have money. So those are the challenges.
How would you describe the relationship between the regulators and the innovators in the UK? Do you think they're having the right conversations, or do you think they could do better?
It's enlightened. We do work across Europe, and compared to other regulators, and I suggest compared to the US regulatory environment, it is refreshing. We have a progressive regulator who recognizes that if you're going to allow and encourage an industry, you have to allow and encourage innovation. So we collaborate with the industry. They ask us what we think. They involve us in making big decisions. They help us to help them to create a better future through payments. And that is extraordinarily enlightened. And so that's one of the four things that make the UK a great hotspot for innovation in payments.
And as we look ahead in the next 12 months, you, with your perspective on emerging payments, what are kind of the key trends we should be looking out for?
So the first thing is going to happen is that most of next week's going to be spent recovering from Money 2020. There's no doubt about that. I think in Europe there's a whole band of new regulation coming in, particularly around something called the Payment Services Directive 2. This is a lovely example of good regulation, and it has the possibility of challenging one of the big problems that we have in this market, which is the big banks. I'm a friend of the big banks individually, but I think they've got a lot to answer for in terms of preventing innovation. So what we're going to see is regulation that's going to be helping us to challenge the big banks and helping us to adopt new ways of doing business through the payments ideas, the payments innovations that we've got. So does that answer your question?
So you mean more kind of collaboration between established banks and new innovators?
Well, I think the collaboration is one of these words again that's a bit, it's motherhood and apple pie in a way. Of course you've got to collaborate, but really collaborate. Because big banks don't know how to do this. One of the things we have the support of Visa Collab, which is a Visa Europe Collab, which is an innovation centre promoting entrepreneurship in the UK, and they're working with us, as MasterCard are working with us with our incubator at the Catalyst. And the two organisations, they're big companies, they've said, we don't know all the answers. And what we're going to see in the year ahead is the understanding of the impact of the new regulation, the development of new business models to reflect that, and with the support of big companies like the Bancorp, who are also one of our benefactors, who have invested in allowing us to nurture entrepreneurs, we're going to see more entrepreneurs being successful than before, and some really exciting developments in paytech.
No one can deny the sheer amount of money coming into fintech space at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think there are any kind of areas where you'd like to see more innovation, any problems people aren't really solving, or kind of sort of gaps in the ecosystem?
Actually, I do. There's a particular gap that I think needs to be filled and filled quickly. This stuff is complex, it's difficult, it's changing fast, it's unpredictable sometimes. I believe that we've not recognized the need to invest in education and personal development and training of people. Not necessarily the people at the front end, and often the technology people at the back end are good too. I think it's the people in the middle. And I'll quote Tony Kerr, who's the CEO of one of our members, GPS, talking to me about this last night. We've got lots of great front end people, lots of great technology people, but let's train and develop the people in the middle. So that, ironically, is the gap. It's a people gap, and it's about skills and competencies.
And who should be responsible for that?
Well, trade association is going to make a good bash of coming up with a training program for our members and the wider community next year, launching in January, which is very exciting. I think that every company who's looking at developing their staffing has got to recognize that you have to recruit from outside fintech. And if you're brought up in it, you understand it. If you're outside it, you probably don't. And I think it's important to not assume that people have the knowledge. It's difficult, this stuff, it's complicated, and if you haven't been in it for some time, you and I can talk about something, think we're understanding each other, but we might not be. And we've actually written a glossary of terms in international payments, and it has 383 items in it.
Really?
All technical items. The challenge is, I mean, it's great for insomniacs, actually. If you want to read that, put you to bed right away, put you to sleep right away. The challenge is that you actually have to understand a whole heap of things to even understand how to read it. So I think the challenge is going to be upskilling the people in the middle of these organizations.
And there are a lot of entrepreneurs here, a lot of startups. Do you have any kind of advice maybe that you've been given in the past that you think early stage entrepreneurs need to be thinking about as they start off in payments?
Well, I think that's a good question. There's a real danger when giving advice to entrepreneurs, it becomes a platitude. It becomes just what every business entrepreneur book says, work hard, listen to your customers, get the money in the right place, all those sort of things. So I completely agree, those are very important. I think the advice that I would give them is not to assume that they have access to the, I would say, get engaged with the community. The people I find most inspirational as entrepreneurs are the ones who realize there's a chance through doing fintech and paytech better, we can change the world. If you can have that as your mantra, it's not just about making money, it's about doing something that changes the world, then suddenly your motivation goes up, your ability to bring in investors and the right staff and the right technologists increases, and you have a greater chance to be successful. So I'd say engage with the community and have a very big vision about changing the world.
What is the one thing that makes you so excited and passionate to be part of this industry?
Being alive. I mean, actually being here is great. You're surrounded by enterprising, upbeat people who are ready to do business. And that's what we love, is being with progressive, collaborative people who are committed to, sure, innovating, sure, doing better business and making more money, but ultimately using payments as a means of improving the world we live in.